Let's preview the Sun Belt softball tournament. It's Locked On Sun Belt.
You are Locked On Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sun Belt, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, we'll also talk about transfer portal strategy and Sun Belt baseball midweek preview. Kind of surprised there was actually some games this week, but there are, and a really big one in Troy. They claim that it's sold out. I have a feeling that it will be, and the people will actually be there. All right, so Sunbelt softball preview. We've been talking about this for a little bit, that it really is a three-team race. It could be a four-team race if you want to throw Troy in there, right? They came in and gave the Cajuns all they could handle, 3-0 in the first game, and then was leading 7-0 in game 2 before the Cajuns scored 15 out of the last 16 runs in the series. But otherwise, you do have the Cajuns and Troy on one side of the bracket, 1-4, and you have Texas State and South Alabama on the other side of the bracket, 2-3. Now, as of right now, I would tell you, and I don't have this up, I should have had it, I think the Sun Belt is getting at least 3 teams in, and probably that may be it into the NCAA tournament. I think the Cajuns are in. Obviously, they're looking to host. Texas State is a top 20 team, and South Alabama has a solid RPI as well. They probably, let's see here. That is baseball. Let's see. Cajuns are 12th as of Monday evening. Texas State is 19th, and South Alabama is 36th. You have Troy, who's 46th, and I guess could win a couple of games and get in, but that would probably mean taking out the Cajuns. And what is better it's probably not better for the better teams, if that makes sense. It's more apt for upsets like the regular basketball NCAA tournament, where it is one and done. You don't have to win 2 out of 3 as you do in a regional or a super regional. You just have to win once. So why can't Troy beat the Cajuns one time? They just did. So it starts on Wednesday, coming up tomorrow. James Madison and Southern Miss are playing first. They're playing at 4 p.m. They're 8-9. They get the Cajuns. All right. After the Cajuns play, 10 a.m. That's brutal. I guess you get it out of the way. That is an early ball game. Texas State is the 2 seed. I think they get to pick because they're hosting. I think that's the way that it works. They're playing at 7 o'clock. The bonus of playing early on is if there is weather, you get the game in. I don't know what weather's coming. Obviously, there's some bad weather in the Midwest. Hopefully, please stay safe. But if you I think that's the way Jay Johnson always thought of it, and not Paul Maneri, maybe even Paul Maneri. That the idea is to get that game in early in case weather does come. Anyways, on the other side of the bracket, after James Madison and Southern Miss, it'll be Georgia Southern and Marshall. That winner gets Texas State. So Troy, I think I mentioned Troy was the 4th seed. Troy's actually the 5th seed. They're taking on Coastal Carolina. Cajuns get the winner of James Madison and Southern Miss, and then those 2 teams meet. That would be on Friday. On the bottom half, South Alabama already lined up with ULM, who I think had a fantastic season, winning as many games as maybe they ever have in the Sun Belt. And as I mentioned, Texas State taking on Georgia Southern and Marshall. Now, we'll see if we see an upset. We'll see if, I would be shocked if James Madison or Southern Miss knocked off the Cajuns, but probably wouldn't be if Troy did. I'll be surprised if ULM knocks off South Alabama, and I'd be surprised if Texas State is knocked off. I'm guessing Coastal Carolina is the 4 seed, but I'm going to guess that Louisiana is going to take on Troy, and Texas State will take on South Alabama. That's going to be a great matchup. That's going to be Jessica Mullins versus Olivia Lackey. That is what I mean. That is, I mean, I can't believe I can't imagine I'm saying I'm a softball aficionado. I'm not really, but I know more than I ever thought that I would. That'll be a great softball game. Both veterans. I think Jessica is a senior and Olivia is a junior. But they are outstanding, and that would be worth the price of admission. Now, the question is, because, can they get, are they, who's pitching in the first game, right? And are they coming back for the second game? Because you really want, those two, whoever is, moves on, wants to face the Cajuns. I don't think Olivia Lackey or Jessica Mullins are pitching all 3 ball games. So we'll see if they pitch in the first game. Cajuns kind of switch it off. They'll go Sam Landry and Chloe, and then go the other way. We'll see if Denali Locker can get in there. All right. They may need her as well. And again, Troy tried something. We'll see if the other teams did. I guess ULM did as well, because the Cajuns' bats really were not very good. Is that they changed the pitchers like after 2 1/3 innings. It's kind of that's an odd time to change the pitchers, but that's what they would do. And we'll see if other teams try to do that, where you're not getting, more than a couple of chances. Maybe a couple of chances against the same pitcher. Get in there, go get 2 1/3 innings is 7 outs, right? You're not getting 2 chances, for the most part. And I presume if the Cajun bats are going, then you're not going to last that long. So we'll see what happens. Again, I think 3 of those 4 teams, I guess the other one that I mentioned, Coastal, let me see the standings here. Coastal is 74, so they would probably have to win it. That's kind of on the outside looking in. They're 34-20 overall, 1-12 against quad 1 teams. Troy also not very good, 3-6 against quad 1 teams, but they're sitting at 46. So if they beat Coastal and beat the Cajuns, then they'll probably be in the top 40 and would have an outside shot at getting an at-large berth. Jerry Glasgow from the Cajuns believes that they get to the championship. I mean, he already thinks they're hosting, but he's like, if we win, will not only will we be hosting, but our seating will go up. So he thinks the Cajuns, which has been a big topic of discussion around here, should they be hosting or not? They are right there at a 12th ranking. So it should be a lot of fun. I love the idea that it is at 10 a.m. In the morning. Something that's certainly something to do at 10 a.m. I do have Orange Theory at noon, so hopefully it's done before that. But you get it done right away. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, I do want to talk about transfer portal strategy and the way, and that should be football. I don't think you can do anything about it basketball, but I want to talk about it football-wise, because it feels like, did the Cajuns stumble on what you should do? Maybe. I'm not really sure. Let's take a timeout. We'll talk about that when we get back. Let me tell you about FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Knicks getting off to a good start, coming from behind. Maybe got a couple of calls. but they take down the Pacers in game 1. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your team every day. We mentioned this, and we were kind of surprised at when App State started really early with spring ball, like almost mid-February, the beginning of March, like really early. And so one of the reasons is to let any injuries heal. You got more time for that. But maybe the Cajuns, and maybe got a little help from some rules changes, stumbled on a way to go later in the calendar for the transfer portal. And again, this will probably change again next year. Someone told me yesterday that they did change the graduate rules, that you can't just go anytime. You have to do it when you're in the port, while the portal's open, to go visit. You can still leave, but you can't go visit. So that was a rule change. You had to do it by the 1st. And so the Cajuns were so late, right? Like, it's been a week. It's not like the kids didn't have time to get in there, but their spring game was one that, hold on. Was it the 27th? Is that right? I'm a week off. I thought it was the 20th. I'm a week off. Yeah, it was, well, hold on. Because whenever the high school softball championships, it was the same week. So it was late. I don't know why I can't figure that out by looking at a calendar. So it was late. So, well, hold on. Now I'm confusing myself. So let's see here. It is this. So we had this week off, and yeah, I think it was really late. And so because of that, anyways, it was really late. They only had a few days after practice and finding out, and where they are in the depth chart to go in. And so that doesn't leave you a whole lot of time. It really doesn't. And maybe they just stumbled on this in their own way, and a lot of that has to do with, the way the school schedule is and spring break. And, you do half, they started right before spring break, and then, took a week off and then come back. So obviously they don't control any of that. Some guys want to get it out before spring break, someone, whatever the case may be. But because they went so late, they have not had too many people go. I mean, Zion Chris went and Gant went, but all these guys from JMU, now that may be a special situation because they're transferring from Kurt Signetti. But if we go to other schools, right? And I'm guessing that it is, a two-way, not always a two-way street, but a lot of times it is a two-way street. South Alabama lost some. I think that, they lost some guys. Khalil Jacobs, where's he going to go? He entered in, I think, a week after the spring ball game, 426. And you had Adrian Strickland leave. Keith Gallman, been there forever. He may have gotten beat out. That may have been the deal. He was a starter. He may have gotten beat out. Yan Banks left way earlier in probably the beginning of semester. But you have all these other schools that started early. Like, how many left App? Let's just look. They did get some transfers in yesterday. Josh Donald, senior, 6'2", 300-pound defensive lineman from Troy, going to App. But redshirt freshman Omari Philia, he left, but that was like at the end of April, right? DeAndre Dingle Prince, he left. That's in the middle of April. This is way late for App. All right, let's see anybody else. It doesn't seem like they did lose a lot of people, to be honest with you. So they didn't lose that many after spring ball. No. They lost a couple, but not that many. So others are different. Like Marshall is coming up. I think they lost a bunch. They did. They seem to have lost more than a handful. a lot of guys leaving Marshall. So maybe not. Their thing was late too. Or maybe they just have a conversation about, where they are on the depth chart. That's why I think guys leave a lot of times. I do know, and Mike Desimo said this, so this is public knowledge. This is not, we've maybe even talked about it. He was really furious because the players were coming up to him. He wasn't mad about that. He was thankful. I think that shows a lot of character. And he was telling players, if I thought you were going to get the money, I tell you to go get it. Some guys have left here, were told they were getting a lot of money, and then it was a lot less, and now they're stuck. Other guys are telling you you're going to get a little bit of cash to be backups. And so I don't know if the Cajuns figured it out. It could be just this class. Who knows? Again, Troy Amos left. It was a backup for Alabama. Maybe he got a little bit of cash. I don't know. He's a backup. He could have been all Sun Belt. Who knows what that does, right? I mean, wasn't Mitchell one of the first, Quentin Mitchell, one of the first defensive backs taken from Toledo? Amos was riding the pine. I'm not even sure he was a nickelback for Alabama. But hey, he got a little bit of money, which I think he did. And that's great. But that's an immediate self-satisfaction, not long-term. No. And the Cajuns' NIL stuff has just kind of gotten off the ground in the last year. All right. We'll see what they can do with basketball. Some guys have left, obviously. They got to do some baseball. You would think so softball would get it, and maybe volleyball. Volleyball all of a sudden has become very popular. But then you got to handle your football business, right? And we'll see, you can leave. Here's the thing. We'll see what the Cajuns need. The Cajuns said they needed a punter. They went out and got a punter. We'll see if they need anything else. I don't think they do. They just got to be healthy and raring to go. So we'll see if that transfer portal strategy, fine. I could ask somebody, well, wouldn't you know it? We got Mike Desimo coming up on Locked On Sunbelt. Should be here for Thursday. I'm going to start that rumor and perpetuate it. So we're going to have Mike Desimo on Thursday. We could just ask him, is starting spring practice later, is that done intentionally to limit the amount of time that these guys can be in the portal? All right. All right, let's take a timeout. We got midweek baseball. I don't know why I thought, why do I thought that this was like the last week? I don't know why. There's 2 more series left, so I'm not sure why I thought 2 more weekends in the regular season. They didn't have it last week, but that was basically because of finals. So they don't have school anymore, so a midweek ball game is not that big of a deal. Let's do that when we come back. Let me tell you a little bit about Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We got to pause right here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, flag on the play. You already talked about that, but there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete big albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something to discover Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it for free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Yeah, the Sun Belt had it. Yeah, this had to be 10 days ago. It was the 27th, right? Let me see. I'm upset. Let me see when this was. I can do this with a date. Yeah, it was the 27th. So it's 10 days ago. Okay. I am getting older. My memory does not serve. But 10 days ago is the spring game is on like the 27th. The portal closes. I thought it closed on the 1st. So that was crazy. That's crazy. You don't have much time to set things up if you find out you're not exactly on the depth chart where you want to be. All right. And I don't have a problem with guys leaving to go, to get money. Good for them. Or playing time. Good for them as well. But making sure you're getting both or one or the other. All right. It is Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's check out those midweek ball games. We do have a big one. Troy, which oddly enough did not move up all that much in the RPI. Anyone find that odd? Like South Alabama a couple weeks ago did move up when they beat JMU. Now JMU's got a better RPI than the Cajuns, and the Cajuns RPI, I guess technically is higher if you want to say it that way, number-wise, right? But did Troy fall to like 47? Kind of odd. Let's see. Yeah, they're 47. Weren't they 46? I know they lost Sunday, but you would still think taking 2 out of 3 from the Cajuns would move them up at least a handful, right? I don't know about top 40, but closer to 40 than they are now. Anyways, they're hosting Alabama. The game is sold out. Now, for those of us who watched, didn't feel like it was the biggest crowd of all time. And I've commented on what the Cajuns' attendance has been. It was much better than Troy's. I'll say that. All right. I don't know why that's the case. It was the biggest series of the weekend, along with the Southern Miss series, a Coastal. A huge series for Troy. If they sweep them, they're in first place, tied for first. And in fact, if you sweep them and you're tied for first, you're in first place because you won the series. So they did not have very many people, all right, at those ball games. I don't know why. Who knows why? They got a brand new-ish stadium, big scoreboard, a lot of runs. I don't know why they don't draw. But now Alabama's coming to town, and we'll see if that's as packed as it should be, right? And good for Alabama for going to Troy and doing that. So that should be a big ball game. A win there should help Troy get up a couple of spots. And in this case, Cajuns fans and the rest of the Sun Belt should be rooting for Troy. All right, let's see what else we got. Cajuns have Jackson State. Can't lose that ball game, and they have before. First year here was 2014. The Cajuns were the number 1 team in the nation, number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. They lost to Jackson State 1-0. They had to grind their way through and ended up hosting a super regional. Lost to Ole Miss, but they did grind their way through the regional. But they did lose to Jackson State 1-0. So don't lose that ball game tomorrow night. You do have Coastal Carolina hosting UNC Greensboro. I mean, what is going on with Coastal Carolina? They have just sunk. I mean, they were 12th RPI-wise after they take 2 out of 3 from the Cajuns, and they haven't won since. They lost 2 to Creighton, lost 3 to Troy, and just lost 3 to Southern Miss. Let's see where UNC is. Greensboro. They're 59th, so that's not awful. Meaning that don't lose that ball game. That would be 9 in a row. I mean, there's no way, again, the Coastal Carolina is getting Georgia State at home. I got a feeling they're going to take care of that. And then they get Marshall. They're definitely going to take care of that. Oh, man, they couldn't find it. Could they find their way out of the NCAA tournament? I mean, again, they're tied for 9th. If they don't win some games in the Sun Belt, they could find themselves not in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. I don't think that's going to happen. All right, that would be more than shocking if somehow Coastal Carolina lost too many games to get into the Sun Belt Conference tournament. If they can't get into the Sun Belt Conference tournament, they're not going to get into the NCAA tournament. I can't imagine that happening. So let's see if they can turn things around against UNC Greensboro. South Alabama caught a bad break when the rains came on Saturday. App State's bats were rolling. South Alabama taking on Alabama State in Montgomery on Tuesday. Arkansas State is hosting Memphis, so that could be a good crowd. And ODU is heading to Richmond to take on VCU. We do have some games on Wednesday. James Madison hosting USC Upstate. Marshall hosting Ohio. Georgia Southern going to Jacksonville, and ULM hosting Stephen F. Austin. Quickly checking the big series this weekend. Let's see what we got. I mean, Coastal, it's a big series because they got to win. Yeah, big series for Georgia Southern and the Cajuns. Cajuns 2 games up. Georgia Southern is, I guess, technically ahead of Southern Miss. They beat Southern Miss, so they get that tiebreaker. I learned that today. You got Troy and Texas State. I mean, Troy is as hot as can be. You don't want to go into San Marcos and lose a couple. Southern Miss taking on Arkansas State, and ULM at South Alabama. A chance for South Alabama to turn things around and head back in the right direction before the conference tournament. All right, again, the plan is for Thursday's episode to be Mike Desimo, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. That would make 7 head coaches that have come on. Still can get about 4 more. Say if I can, Del McGee, that's 1. Clay Helton, that's 2. And Major Applewhite, that's 3. And Charles Huff is 4. So that would be 11. The other 3, we had 2 of them on, as we mentioned, and Sean Clark, got to let that rest. But that would be pretty good. All right. But Mike Desimo from the Cajuns, haven't had him on in a minute, but we saw him all through spring. So we'll have a good discussion. And Mike actually tells you stuff that maybe he shouldn't, which we appreciate. All right. Thanks very much for tuning in. We did hit 1,210 subscriptions. I don't know who decided to leave. But oh well. Again, we're trying to get to 1,500 by August 31st. That is the goal. All right. So please tell your friends and family. I know school's ending. Sports are ending for the Sun Belt. But, you know, we will keep on going, especially through baseball and softball season. We'll see if someone from, you know, I don't know why South Alabama, Texas State, or the Cajuns can't make a run in the NCAA tournament. And we'll see who makes a run in the baseball tournament. It would be tough to beat that Troy team. That is, they got a lot of bats in that lineup, let me tell you. All right, thanks very much for tuning in to Locked On Sun Belt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Have a great Tuesday, everybody, and we'll talk to you again on Wednesday.